I'm Noah Bennett, the son my father called worthless, but he never suspected I'd built a tech empire that would expose his company's secrets and topple his legacy in a battle of betrayal and redemption. You're trash. That's how my wealthy father insulted me on Thanksgiving, but he didn't know I was secretly building a business that would bankrupt his company. As a driven entrepreneur, I've poured my heart into TraceLink, a tech startup, living in a small apartment in Portland, Oregon. The apartment isn't anything special. A worn wooden table, a few bookshelves, and a cluttered workspace with papers and a computer screen glowing all night. But this is where I'm building my dream. TraceLink, a small tech startup focused on blockchain for supply chain management. It helps companies from automotive manufacturing to transportation run more smoothly and transparently. TraceLink is everything I have, and every day is a battle to keep it alive. Today, I stand in front of my suitcase, preparing to head to Chicago, Illinois for Thanksgiving. Just thinking about going home makes my heart heavy. Portland is the place I chose, but Chicago is where I grew up. My family's home is there, a suburban mansion with an iron gate engraved with the name Bennett, a name always tied to expectations and pressure. My father, Charles Bennett, is the chairman of Bennett Enterprises, an automotive parts manufacturing company he calls the family legacy. He's strict, patriarchal, and always looks at me with eyes full of both demands and disappointment. My mother, Charlotte, is different. She's gentle, always trying to bridge the gaps in our family, but she rarely dares to defy my father. Then there's Owen, my younger brother, the family's golden child, the operations director at the family company. He's confident, sometimes overly so, and never hesitates to remind me that he's the one my father values. I left Chicago nearly a decade ago, not because I hated my family, but because I didn't belong there. In college, I studied information technology, captivated by the idea of using tech to change how the world works. During my final year, I interned at Bennett Enterprises. Eager to prove myself, I proposed a new system to improve the supply chain, a transparent, efficient way to track data. I spent countless hours preparing, drawing diagrams, writing reports, thinking my father would listen. But in the boardroom in front of the leadership team, he cut me off. "This stuff isn't practical, Noah," he said, his voice cold as stone. Owen, only a smug observer at the time, sat beside him, smirking. I left the room feeling like something vital had been stripped from me. From that moment, I decided I'd make something of myself on my own. I moved to Portland and started TraceLink from nothing. In the early days, I sat in coffee shops coding until my eyes blurred, pitching to investors who didn't believe blockchain could transform logistics. At times, I thought I was crazy for pursuing this path, but I didn't give up. TraceLink slowly grew from a mocked idea to software that major companies are now eyeing. Recently, we raised $30 million, 0 cents, in a Series A round. It's a huge milestone, but I haven't told anyone, not even my family. I want to keep it a secret, at least until I'm ready to face them. My apartment is simple, but I like it that way. On my desk, I keep an old photo of me and my mom taken when I was a teenager standing by a quiet lake. My mom is the only one I still talk to regularly. She calls asking how I'm eating, how work is going. I give vague answers. "I'm fine, Mom, working on some stuff." She doesn't push, but I know she's sad that I rarely come home. The last time I was in Chicago was a few years back, also for Thanksgiving. That dinner was stifling. Owen bragged about his work at Bennett Enterprises. My father nodded proudly, and I just sat there counting the hours until I could leave. Today, as I pack my suitcase, I feel uneasy. My father called recently, his voice as sharp as a blade. "Come home for Thanksgiving. Don't disappoint your mother." I agreed, but not for him. I'm going back for my mom, for the text she sends asking if I'm okay, for the way her voice trembles when she says, "The family needs you, Noah." I'm not sure I need my family, but I don't want her to think I've forgotten her. Before heading to the airport, I checked my email. One message from an investor congratulating me on the Series A milestone, another from the TraceLink team updating me on the new software's progress. I smile, but the smile fades quickly. TraceLink is my pride, but it also reminds me of what I gave up. The Bennett name, my father's shadow, and the dreams that were crushed in that boardroom years ago. As the plane takes off, I look out the window at the endless white clouds. I wonder what I'm expecting from this trip. Part of me wants to tell my family about TraceLink, to see my father's face when he learns I've achieved what he once dismissed. But a bigger part of me is afraid. Afraid he'll brush it off again. Afraid Owen will mock me. Afraid I won't be able to stay calm. I'm not the naive dreamer anymore, but the old wounds still smolder. When the plane lands in Chicago, the sky is gray, the wind bitterly cold. I rent a car and drive through familiar streets. Memories swirl like fallen leaves, stirring memories of the days when Owen and I used to play in the yard. I pass the Bennett Enterprises headquarters, a gleaming glass building with the company logo. My heart races, but I don't stop. That was once the place I wanted to belong, where I thought I'd carry on my father's legacy. Now, it's just a distant memory. The Bennett mansion comes into view at the end of the road, its iron gate already open. I park the car and take a deep breath. The smell of burning wood from the fireplace drifts out, reminding me of warm winters when my mom baked and our family still felt whole. But I'm not that child anymore. I step out of the car, my suitcase trailing behind me, each step heavy as lead. Stepping into the house, I immediately feel the familiar yet distant atmosphere. The Bennett mansion isn't just a home, it's a statement. The granite walls glimmer under the massive crystal chandelier hanging in the main foyer, its light reflecting like tiny stars. The polished oak floors stretch through the hallway leading to the living room, where expensive Persian rugs lie neatly beneath an imported Italian leather sofa. On the walls, classical oil paintings, portraits of Bennett ancestors, gaze down as if judging my every step. A curved staircase leads to the second floor, its gold-plated handrail gleaming, and in a far corner, a marble fireplace crackles, emitting the warm, rich scent of pine. This house is grandiose, but it isn't warm. It's a symbol of the Bennett name, power, tradition, and expectation. My mother pulls me into another hug, her hands trembling slightly. "You've gotten thinner," she says, her voice full of worry. I smile, trying to reassure her. "I'm fine, Mom," but her eyes stay fixed on me as if searching for something. Perhaps the young Noah, the son who never left the family. "Noah!" My father's voice booms from the living room, sharp and devoid of warmth. I take a deep breath and step through the carved wooden door. My father, Charles Bennett, a towering figure, sits in a large armchair, a glass of scotch in his hand. He's dressed in a crisp white shirt, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed, but his eyes, cold and scrutinizing, remain unchanged. He's the chairman of Bennett Enterprises, the automotive parts manufacturing company he considers his lifeblood. To my father, the company isn't just a business, it's a legacy, something he'd sacrifice anything to protect, including his family. "Well, look who finally decided to show up," Owen says, his voice smooth but dripping with sarcasm. My younger brother, a polished executive, leans against the doorframe, his charcoal suit perfectly tailored, his hair slicked back with gel. Owen is the operations director at Bennett Enterprises, a role he boasts about constantly. He's confident, sometimes to the point of arrogance, and always finds ways to remind me that I'm the outsider. "What do you do in Portland anyway? Still coding in some coffee shop corner?" He laughs, but his eyes don't. "Owen?" my mother says softly, her tone firm enough to silence him. She looks at me as if apologizing on behalf of the family. I nod, maintaining a calm facade. I'm used to Owen's jabs, but each word still feels like a small knife, stirring memories of the days I tried to fit into this family and failed. "Sit down, Noah," my father commands, pointing to the chair across from him. I sit, the leather seat cold under my hands. The living room is vast, with tall windows overlooking a perfectly manicured garden, where pine trees stand in neat rows like sentinels. Everything in this house is meticulously arranged, from the decor to the way my family behaves. This is an elite world, where tradition and togetherness are revered. But I've always felt out of place. My father starts speaking, his voice steady but laced with authority. He asks about my work, but not out of genuine interest. "What are you doing in Portland? Still messing with that tech nonsense?" He takes a sip of scotch, not waiting for my response. "Bennett Enterprises is expanding. I need reliable people. Owen's doing well, but the company needs more family." He looks at me as if appraising a piece of merchandise. I clench my fists, struggling to stay calm. TraceLink is my life, something I've poured sweat and tears into building. But I say nothing, not out of fear, but because I'm not ready. I know if I open my mouth, things will explode, and I don't want to upset my mother on my first day back. I have my own plans, I say, my voice low but steady. My father frowns, his eyes darkening. Plans? What? Working for some tech company? You think you're better than the family business. He sets his glass down, the sound of glass hitting the table sharp and final. Charles, please, my mother interjects, her voice soft but resolute. Noah just got here. Let him rest. She looks at me, her eyes pleading for peace, but I know that's unlikely. My father will never accept me having my own path, and Owen is just waiting for a chance to prove he's superior. Owen smirks, jumping in. Keep dreaming in Portland, big brother. This company doesn't need your pie-in-the-sky ideas. His words dredge up old memories. The boardroom years ago when I presented my supply chain improvement idea and was dismissed by my father. Owen, though young, was there laughing at me. That wound has never healed. I stand up, unwilling to argue. I'm going to rest in my room for a bit, I say to my mother, avoiding my father and Owen's gazes. She nods, but her eyes are filled with worry. I climb the staircase, each step heavy on the gleaming wooden floor. My old room is unchanged. Dark wooden bed, shelves packed with technical books I used to read, and a window overlooking the garden. I sit on the bed, feeling like I'm a young man again, back when I still thought I could belong here. This house, with all its grandeur, is a reminder that I was never good enough in my father's eyes. The Bennett mansion could awe anyone, from its luxurious stone walls to the garden maintained like a work of art. But to me, it feels like a gilded prison. Everything here belongs to my father, to the Bennett name, and I gave that up long ago. I pull out my phone and check emails from the TraceLink team. A message from the lead engineer reports that the new software is testing well. I smile, feeling a wave of relief. TraceLink is my world, where I can be myself. But as I look around the room, hearing my mother quietly cleaning downstairs, and my father's voice still echoing somewhere, I know this Thanksgiving won't just be a meal. It will be a battle. And I'm not sure I'm ready. The long dining table in the Bennett Mansion's dining room is draped in white silk, gleaming under the chandelier's light. The aroma of roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, and pumpkin pie fills the air, but the atmosphere is heavy, like a storm is brewing. I sit across from Owen, my mother to my left, and my father at the head of the table like a king surveying his subjects. This opulent mansion, with its granite walls and crackling fireplace, does nothing to ease the coldness in my heart. Thanksgiving is supposed to be a time for reunion, but for me, it feels like stepping into a battle I'm not ready to fight. My mother tries to keep things light, asking me about Portland, the weather, the coffee shops I like. I answer briefly, forcing a smile to reassure her. But my father doesn't let it slide. He cuts in, his voice low and sharp. Speak, Noah. What are you doing out there? Still messing around with that tech nonsense? He takes a sip of scotch, his eyes fixed on me as if waiting for me to admit defeat. I grip my fork tightly, struggling to stay calm. TraceLink is my entire world, a startup that just raised $30 million 0 cents transforming how companies manage supply chains. But I don't say anything, not because I'm ashamed, but because I know that to my father, my success means nothing if it doesn't bear the Bennett name. I have my own work, I reply, my voice low but steady. I'm doing fine. Fine? Owen jumps in, smirking. You mean still unemployed, right? Or are you slaving away for someone in Portland? He slices into his turkey, his voice smooth but dripping with sarcasm. Over here, we're expanding Bennett Enterprises. Real work, not some pipe dream. My father sets his scotch glass down, the sound of glass hitting the table sharp and final. I don't have time for your vague games, Noah, he says, his eyes darkening. Bennett Enterprises needs you. I want you to come work for the family now. Owen's doing well, but the company needs more family. If you refuse, don't expect to inherit a dime. His words hit like a punch. I stare at him, my heart pounding. Inheritance? He thinks I'm here for money, for the company he calls his legacy. I want to scream about TraceLink, about the sleepless nights coding, the contracts waiting to be signed. I uncovered their secret plan to sabotage my startup with falsified data leaks. But I stay silent because I know if I speak, he'll find a way to tear it down. Just like he did with every dream I had before. I don't need an inheritance, I say, my voice calm but firm. I have my own path. Your own path, my father laughs, but there's no humor in it. Who do you think you are, Noah? A kid who ran away from home, wandering around Portland with nothing to show for it. And you dare talk to me about your own path? He stands, pointing at me. You're a Bennett. You belong to this company, and I won't let you disgrace that name. Charles, please, my mother nearly shouts, standing abruptly, her eyes red with tears. This is Thanksgiving. We're family. But my father doesn't look at her. He just glares at me, his eyes full of anger and disappointment. Owen smirks, chiming in. Keep dreaming, Noah. But you know what? This company doesn't need you. His words are like pouring fuel on a fire. I remember my internship days at Bennett Enterprises, when I tried to prove myself only to be dismissed. I remember Owen's gaze, always ready to push me down so he could shine. I've had enough. Pity. I stand looking straight at Owen, then turning to my father. If you think I need your pity, you don't know me at all. I don't need this company, and I don't need the Bennett name. I've built everything on my own. Enough, my father roars, slamming his hand on the table, making the scotch glasses tremble. If you don't want to be part of this family, then get out now. The room falls silent save for the crackling of the fireplace. My mother covers her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Owen looks at me, his eyes triumphant. I turn to my mother, wanting to say something, but my throat tightens. I can't stay, not after those words. 2 years later, I sit in TraceLink's new office in Portland, looking out the window at the city aglow with lights. This room is larger than my old apartment, but still simple. A wooden desk, a few bookshelves, and a photo of my mother and me by a quiet lake. The only thing I've kept from my past. TraceLink is no longer a small startup. We just closed a Series B funding round, $50 million 0 cents, and signed contracts with giants like Ford, and our blockchain software is now an industry standard in automotive and logistics, forcing suppliers to integrate data for transparency. American media, Wall Street Journal, CNBC call me a rising star in tech, but every time I read those articles, I feel empty. This success should taste sweet, but it only reminds me of what I've lost. Last Thanksgiving left a wound that hasn't healed. I haven't returned to Chicago. Haven't called my father or Owen. My mother still texts asking if I'm okay, but I reply briefly, afraid that if I say too much, I'll remember that opulent mansion, the crystal chandelier, the polished wood floors, and my father's voice telling me to get out. I threw myself into TraceLink, working to exhaustion to fill the void. But my family, no matter how much I try to deny it, is still a part of me. Then one day, everything changed. I received a message from a former employee now working in Chicago. You should read this. It was an article in a tabloid accusing TraceLink of security risks, claiming our software had vulnerabilities that made customer data easy to steal. I frowned and immediately checked our systems. There were no vulnerabilities. The article was riddled with falsehoods, but it spread quickly, causing the stocks of some of our partners to waver. Soon after, a competitor of TraceLink, a small company in Indianapolis, filed a lawsuit, alleging we violated their technology patents. The lawsuit had no merit, but it was time-consuming and costly. I felt uneasy. These attacks were too unusual, as if someone was deliberately targeting TraceLink. I hired an investigation team, and within days they found a lead. The media company behind the tabloid article had a contract with someone in Chicago. The trail led to an account linked to Owen. My heart pounded as I read the report. My family, my father, and Owen could be behind this. I called my mother the first time in a long while. Do you know anything about the rumors targeting my company? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She was silent, then sighed. Noah, I'm not sure, but your father and Owen are furious. They read about you in the news about TraceLink. They didn't expect you to achieve such big things. Her voice choked. They feel threatened. Threatened? I almost laughed, but my throat was dry. I remembered the article she mentioned, the one in CNBC about how TraceLink was reshaping the supply chain industry. That article inadvertently revealed that Bennett Enterprises had lost contracts with major automakers because they couldn't meet the new blockchain integration requirements. It also hinted at their secret offshore accounts, which TraceLink's transparency exposed. I hadn't meant to hurt the family business, but my software set a new standard, and Bennett Enterprises, with my father's rigid mindset, couldn't keep up. I started piecing things together. My father and Owen must have been shocked to learn I was behind TraceLink. To them, I wasn't just the son who left home. I was a traitor, unintentionally putting the family business in a tough spot. They weren't just angry, they wanted revenge. The rumors, the lawsuit, all part of a plan to slow me down, to save what they called their legacy. I sit in my office looking at the photo of my mother, my heart heavy. I thought leaving Chicago was my escape from them, but they found a way to pull me back, not with family ties, but with destruction. I want to confront them, to drive to Chicago and tear everything apart in front of my father, but I hold back. TraceLink is more important. My customers, my team, they deserve a leader who doesn't let emotions take over. I open my laptop and email the legal team, instructing them to prepare a response to the lawsuit. I call the PR team, telling them to draft a statement refuting the rumors. Then I look out the window where Portland still shines brightly, reminding me how far I've come. My father and Owen may try to hurt me, but they don't know what I've learned from years on my own. I'm not easily defeated. After wrapping up critical tasks, I book a flight back to Chicago to confront my father and brother. The headquarters of Bennett Enterprises, a glass building shimmering under the pale autumn light, stands before me. The company logo, the bold Bennett lettering, feels like a challenge. The wind cuts like a blade, but the fire in my chest burns hotter than ever. In my hand, I hold a folder of documents, evidence of the rumors and baseless lawsuit targeting TraceLink, with traces leading back to my father and Owen. I'm not here to reconcile. I'm here to end this. Stepping into the main lobby, I feel the atmosphere of power my father always sought to flaunt. The marble floors gleam, the ebony reception desk shines, and large photos of Bennett Enterprises factories line the walls. Employees glance at me, some whispering, likely recognizing me as the son who ran away. I don't care. I request to see my father, and after a scrutinizing look, the receptionist leads me to the boardroom on the top floor. My father sits at the head of the long conference table, still like a king on his throne. Owen stands beside him, his charcoal suit immaculate, his eyes wary when he sees me. "Noah," my father says, his voice low but unable to hide his surprise. "What do you want?" He doesn't offer me a seat, but I don't need an invitation. I pull out a chair, place the folder on the table, the sound of paper meeting wood echoing in the silent room. "I want you to stop," I say, looking straight at my father, then at Owen. "The rumors about TraceLink, the baseless lawsuit, I know you're behind them. This is the evidence." I slide the folder toward them, my voice calm but firm. "Stop, or I'll take this to court." Owen laughs, but I see his hand clench. "You're paranoid, Noah," he says, smirking. "If TraceLink is having problems, deal with it yourself. Don't pin it on us." He glances at my father as if seeking approval, but my father remains silent, his eyes fixed on the folder. I lean forward, locking eyes with Owen. "Paranoid, I have emails, contracts, and transactions between your media company and that tabloid. Your name's in there, Owen. I also have proof you hacked our servers to plant fake vulnerabilities. Want me to send it to the press?" My words cut like a knife, and I see his face pale. My father finally speaks, his voice cold as stone. "You dare threaten me in my own company?" He stands, pointing at me. "Who do you think you are? A kid who ran away, built some nonsense tech company, and now thinks he's better than this family." "Nonsense?" I stand facing him, no longer afraid. "TraceLink is reshaping an entire industry, something your company couldn't do. I didn't want to hurt Bennett Enterprises, but you forced me to defend myself." I point at the folder. "Stop, or I'll make everything public." My father slams his hand on the table, his face flushed with rage. "You're no Bennett. Get out." He calls security over the intercom, his voice nearly a shout. Owen stands still, his eyes wavering, as if realizing for the first time that I'm no longer the older brother he could easily bully. 2 security guards appear, but I don't wait for them to drag me out. "This is your last chance," I say, looking at my father one final time. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. I turn and walk out of the boardroom, my shoes echoing on the marble floor. The lobby is still lavish, but to me, it's just an empty shell, like the Bennett name my father worships. Outside in the car, I sit still, gripping the steering wheel. My heart pounds, a mix of disappointment and resolve. I had hoped even just a little that my father would admit his mistake, that Owen would back down, but they haven't changed, and neither have I. TraceLink is my home, and I'll protect it, even if it means facing my entire family. As I drive away from Chicago, I glance at the Bennett Enterprises building in the rearview mirror, watching it shrink and disappear. I don't know if I'll ever return, but I know one thing. I no longer need their approval. I am Noah Bennett, and I will keep walking my own path. I return to Portland carrying the echoes of the confrontation in Chicago. The TraceLink office is still lit up, my team working diligently, unaware of the storms I've just weathered. I sit at my desk looking at the photo of my mother on the shelf, my heart heavy. My father and Owen haven't stopped. The rumors continue to spread, the lawsuit still looms, but I won't let them drag me down. TraceLink is the dream I've poured sweat and tears into building, and I will protect it. I gather my team, briefing them concisely about the challenges. We're being targeted, I say, my voice calm but resolute, but we're stronger than that. Focus on the product. My legal team counters the lawsuit, presenting evidence that the patent infringement claims are baseless. The PR team launches a campaign releasing independent reports proving our software's security and efficiency. I work day and night meeting with clients, reassuring them that TraceLink remains solid. There are moments of exhaustion when emails pile up and the phone never stops ringing, but every new contract signed, every word of praise from a client gives me a reason to keep going. Meanwhile, I hear news about Bennett Enterprises. The family company has lost more major contracts for failing to meet technological demands, blockchain integration, automation, that TraceLink is leading. Their competitors have adopted my father and Owen's tactics, spreading rumors and filing lawsuits, pushing Bennett Enterprises into a financial and reputational crisis. I don't take pleasure in the news, but I don't feel sadness either. It's the consequence of their stubbornness, something I once tried to warn my father about, only to be dismissed. TraceLink, in contrast, surges forward. We launch a new software version, faster, smarter, and sign contracts with international clients, from South Korea to France. I speak at tech conferences sharing insights on blockchain and supply chains, dubbed by the press as an American startup icon. But every time I stand on a stage under glaring lights, I think only of my mother, of the texts she sends that I haven't answered. I want her to be proud, but I don't know how to bridge the gap between us. The battle with my father and Owen gradually fades. The lawsuit is dismissed by the court, and the rumors lose traction as clients continue to trust TraceLink. I don't need to relocate headquarters or run away. Portland is home, and I'll stand firm here. But this victory isn't complete. I've protected TraceLink, but my family, or what used to be my family, remains a lingering ache. Years later, I stand on a stage in Austin, Texas, addressing hundreds of investors and entrepreneurs at TraceLink's new product launch event. The spotlight shines on me, but I don't mention my father Owen or Bennett Enterprises. I talk about the entrepreneurial journey, the days coding in coffee shops, the belief that an idea can change the world if you're persistent enough. The crowd applauds, but I think only of my mother, the one person I wish were here. Back home, I receive a text from her. "I saw you on TV. I'm so proud, Noah." I read it over and over, my throat tightening. She tells me Bennett Enterprises is on the brink of bankruptcy, that my father regrets but won't admit it, and Owen is panicking as the company crumbles. She reveals Owen's desperate attempt to sell company secrets to save himself, a move that sealed their downfall. She wants me to come back to reconcile as a family, but I'm not ready. The wounds are too deep, and I don't know if I can forgive. Sitting in my small Portland apartment, I look at the photo of my mother, the light from the window illuminating the frame. TraceLink is my success, but it doesn't fill the void left by my family. I've lived the American dream from nothing to the top, but I've also learned that success isn't just about money or fame. It's about rising after every fall, about choosing your own path, even if I don't know if I'll return to Chicago. if there'll ever be a day when my father and I sit down and talk like father and son. I've won my fight, but the cost was a family I can't reclaim, leaving me with a bittersweet peace that echoes in the quiet moments, a reminder that triumph carries its own weight.